We had a guy who came in and says, Dom, I just don't like how I look. Let me just do a laser. And I said, walk me through your previous 2 weeks of what you've been doing. Well, it turns the guy doesn't sleep well because he's overstressed with the job, travels a lot, doesn't drink enough water, doesn't exercise, eat horrible diet, and drinks too much alcohol.
Meet Dominika Laureto, founder of Supreme Wellness Aesthetics.
She's dedicated to helping people look and feel their best through innovative anti-aging solutions. Stay tuned for her insights.
Some of these foods that are out there are full of toxins.
A lot of these foods, they shouldn't be even considered foods. If something has 47 ingredients and you can't even pronounce it, it's not eatable.
Let's talk about some aesthetics.
Aesthetic always starts with
You have some procedures that you're very passionate about.
Yes, I love Sculptra. We do a lot of Sculptra in our clinic. It's a biostimulator.
So Brazilian butt lift. Some of these women, they got booties that look like they've been sculptured. Are you familiar with how to do this procedure?
Yes. Well, first of all,
For your health, how important is exercising? Welcome to another episode of a Healthy Point of View podcast. I'm your host, Sam Tejada. Today we have a new guest here that has come in all the way from Chicago. And this one I'm really going to enjoy doing this interview because it's very similar to my story, right? Someone who came from more of that traditional allopathic medicine to then going more into that holistic approach to people's health and wellness, and also diving into the aesthetics medicine. And I know there's a lot of registered nurses, paramedics that are trying to dabble into this industry. Some of you guys that have already started in this industry. And I want you to hear not just my story, but also her story, so you can really understand that it's okay and you can make it happen. You don't have to be a doctor. It's good to have the doctor on your side, but you can do it through your profession as a registered nurse or a paramedic. And today we have Dominika Laureto. How are you?
I am good. Thank you, Sam. I am being really honored to be here. And yes, I did started my career in aesthetic medicine as a registered nurse. I'm currently in nursing practitioner school, so soon to be a nurse practitioner. But yeah, my journey started as a registered nurse.
Yeah, so this is interesting because when I first connected with you, we were at the A4M,
Yes.
and a mutual friend of ours, Rob Fletcher,
Yes.
introduced me to yourself and your husband, and you guys have a beautiful wellness aesthetic practice in Chicago, in the Chicago area. And as we're communicating and talking about you coming on the podcast, I start hearing your story, and I'm like, man, your story is very similar to mine, where you became a registered nurse and were working in the hospital system first, right?
Correct. Yes.
And I want people to kind of understand why you made that decision from going from working in the hospital system for many years to where you're at today.
So yes, I was working about 8 years in emergency department. So I was trauma certified nurse. I was taking really heavy cases, and I went into nursing because I truly wanted to make a difference. I want to help people. And yeah, I wanted to make a difference. So I was fully committed, 100% dedicated to my job. I was working many shifts, long shifts. I was working 12-hour shifts, 5, 6 days a week. And I mean, it took me a moment, but I finally realized that it didn't matter how long of a shift I was working, I couldn't make a difference because the system is broken. So, like at first, firstly, a lot of people in the United States, unfortunately, don't have health insurance. So these people, when they seek medical help, medical assistance, they don't have a place to go. So they go to emergency room.
Right.
And not that I'm saying this in a negative, I don't want to be a negative here, but when those people come to ER, they crowd the emergency room. So they take up the resources, that they take up nurses' time, a doctor time, nurse assistant, phlebotomist, x-ray technician, everyone's time. And unfortunately, then we cannot dedicate 100% of our time to people that truly need our help, right? So a lot of times it felt like we were trying to just get to the next patient because it was like a race and everything was about measurement, door to doctor, a door to admission, door to discharge, everything was measured. And honestly, at the end of the day, it was all about productivity, how fast you can run, how many people you can see within your shift. And we just want to make sure that our boxes are checked and we didn't have any fallouts and we just met the benchmarks. So it was just very frustrating, you know?
Yeah.
Like I never had a time to sit down with a patient and ask, hey, what's your lifestyle? What did you eat today? Did you exercise? I mean, I was lucky if I could get through their medication list and no one was ever questioning it because we just truly had no time.
Yeah, and I can relate to that because when, obviously I was a firefighter paramedic for 12 years and working in emergency medicine, and I had that opportunity to work in the ER as well too on my days off. And what was happening was is that emergency medicine, the ER, was becoming people's primary care, right?
Correct. Yes.
Which a lot of the times the type of illnesses that were coming into the door,
Mhm.
you had people that were just having like the common cold and
Right.
coming in because
Right.
they felt sick, or someone having other type of issues that can easily be, number one, prevented if they're taking care of their lifestyle, or number two, having access to some kind of healthcare provider that doesn't tie up the emergency room. Right, emergency rooms should be for people that are having an actual acute emergency, someone
Right. Right.
who's having a heart attack, some kind of cardiac dysrhythmia, someone who's has fainted, a
Mm-hmm.
stroke, something of that
Chest
nature,
pain. Yeah.
chest pain, right? So I can relate to that 100%. And I actually kind of experienced the same thing where I said, I feel like I'm not giving everything that I can to society when it comes to actually helping people. Because same thing, it was more of a numbers game where we're consistently just kind of like moving
Mm-hmm.
quickly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where is the time where you can actually sit down and assess people? So I relate with it. And so at what point in time in your career did you say, you know what, enough is enough? I want to do it differently.
Mm-hmm. So it was right. I mean, not right, but I think in 2017, I got a certification as a nurse injector, and I did it more for fun, like just a side gig. I started to work a part time at med spa, and then right before COVID, our hospital was getting busier and busier and busier, and we had more issues with load of patients, understaffed, not enough doctors, not enough nurses. So I started to take less shift in the hospital, more shifts in the med spa, and I realized, okay, well, here I know it's a beauty industry, but I feel like I'm actually making a difference because I'm making people look better and they're leaving happy.
Right.
So it was making me happy. I felt more fulfilled doing this than trying to make a difference and like struggling with the system.
Right.
So then I started working at the med spa full time. I was taking like a one shift a week in a hospital. And I was fortunate that I met a doctor who had the same passion as I did for like, a wellness, a beauty industry. Did want to have a practice, but didn't want to operate solo. So we just, partner up. And then the spa was open in the middle of COVID. So it was open in 2020.
Oh, you opened your practice in the middle
Yes,
of COVID? Oh,
yes,
wow.
right in the middle of COVID.
Were you like nervous and scared of it?
I don't know. I don't think so. I was just so ready to actually do something that I felt like, okay, this is it,
Right.
that I wasn't even thinking about being shut down and not having client in. And actually, the 2020 was a very good year because once the government allowed to places to be open, we had such an influx of everyone coming in and trying
Nice.
to enhance their beauty, let's say. And at the beginning, I'm not saying that aesthetic field was like a ideal. I saw a lot of negatives too, like the spot that I worked, it was all about numbers too, every 10 minutes. We had to meet a quota, we had to like sell and as many people as we can. I didn't like that. I had a vision. I truly want to create something that was client or patient centered. I want to implement the holistic approach that aesthetic always starts with wellness and we getting to the root of the problem, because a lot of aesthetics issues are actually caused by chronic inflammation, gut health, hormonal imbalances, oxidative stress, and all that stuff. So that was my vision. And like I said, I was lucky that the doctor kind of followed my lead. And when we opened, we started with, aesthetic treatments, but our consultations were longer. So let's say Botox appointment was 30 minutes, not 10.
Right.
Then filler appointment was an hour, and we were doing more of assessment. Then shortly after, we implemented functional medicine. So we had a functional medicine provider that does blood work and then analyze blood work from functional perspective and treats people with supplementation. So we had that. In 2020, we opened another location that was truly fully equipped in all aspects of wellness services. So we grew really fast. In our second location, we provide regenerative treatments done by our doctor. We provide hyperbaric chamber therapy, red light, ozone treatment, Hackett, which is full detox, PMF, sauna, cold plunge, arc wave therapy, recovery, salt room, IVs, blood work. So like
Wow.
everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like the one-stop shop. I love
yeah,
it.
it is.
So one of the things you mentioned, and when we were talking before backstage, you mentioned that when you got into aesthetics, you decided to actually follow Dr. Hino Bay very closely, which he
Mm-hmm.
does. He is the voice of functional aesthetics
Right.
medicine. And I had the opportunity to have him on the podcast before,
Yes.
and we
Yeah.
talked about that. And a lot of the ways that you see medical providers treating patients with aesthetics, with the neurotoxins and the fillers and everything else, it's in a way where it's almost like putting a Band-Aid on the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing in the wellness services, by doing the comprehensive blood work that you're doing, you're able to actually figure out what the root cause is of why they have the sunken face and, the potentially dehydration, nutrients deficiencies, and
Mm-hmm.
all of these other things. So what made you actually start thinking about these other services to target these root causes?
So, okay, so we have a lot of, so when I was working at med spa, I obviously sometimes saw like 30 clients a day. And a lot of them were coming from different places with either like botched faces or after receiving unnecessary treatments or like, let's say, complaints with inflammatory skin disorder and they were saying, oh, I've tried A, B, and C and it didn't work, can you do something? Well, first of all, why don't we just draw your blood? I think it's just a common sense to me. I don't even
Right.
know how to explain it differently, but you look at someone and okay, you don't need any aesthetic, like there's something not right with you, we got to take care of your wellness. Like that's the holistic approach. That's
Absolutely.
taking considering your physical, your mental, social, like spiritual aspect of well-being, right? And a perfect example, like we had a guy who came in and says, Dom, can you do a laser on my face? I just don't feel good. I look like I just don't like how I look. Like, let me just do a laser. And I said, well, okay, walk me through like your like previous 2 weeks of what you've been doing. Well, it turns the guy doesn't sleep well because he's overstressed with the job, travels a lot, doesn't drink enough water, doesn't exercise, eat horrible diet, and drinks too much alcohol.
Well, I can tell you
Well,
what the solution's going to be there, right?
well,
The
the,
outcome's not going to be good with
well,
that
and the
lifestyle.
laser's not gonna. So I'm like,
Right.
well, laser is not gonna fix anything. It's just gonna put a band-aid, right?
Right.
You're gonna look good for 5 minutes, but if you don't fix all these things,
Right.
then you're gonna come back, 2 weeks and be like, hey, like I paid that much money, but it didn't really help me. So what I did instead, I said, okay, why don't we do this? Try like stress management, sleep, right? A diet, like, and I'm not saying do everything at once, but start with one thing.
You got to
Pick
start somewhere.
something, right?
Right.
Pick something that it's the easiest. So let's say 8 hours of sleep. And so he agreed. He said, and I said, drinking, honestly, like if you're not limiting alcohol intake, that's gonna make everything worse, right?
Right.
That's gonna make you gonna not feel good and you're not gonna look good. So he agreed, no alcohol, and then sleeping more. And we put him in a hyperbaric chamber. He did actually 20 session, and he documented it himself. Actually, I think he posted on Instagram too. His before when he was inflamed, puffy, red face, to after it's like a completely different person.
Wow, that's amazing.
Amazing.
Isn't that so rewarding when you can see all your
Yes,
hard work come to
yes.
fruition
And
like
that's what
that?
I'm like. I am so passionate about it. You don't even know. I love it. And the stories we have, that's why we grew so fast. That's why people trust us. And then, they appreciate our honesty and integrity. I love seeing those changes. I
Yeah,
love helping because I know that, now you not only look good, but you feel so much better.
right. You're obviously very data driven, right?
Yes.
So, what type of different data points are you guys using with your patients?
Like objective, or you asking, so like subjective, obviously, so
Right.
client feedback, so we very strong, like our receptionists, nurses, doctor, everyone is collecting subjective data. When it comes to objective, depending on what treatments, but we don't use scale. Let's say like for weight loss we use tape measurement. We are getting DEXA scan for more like objective results,
Okay.
and blood work. So let's say when it comes to like inflammation, like this gentleman in particular, we drew his blood work, inflammation markers, his CRP before and then after. So that's what we basically use now. So blood work
Awesome.
is our like a basic.
Yeah, blood work is definitely
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
We use the DEXA. We have the DEXA for body
That's what
composition analysis.
we
So,
are actually in a process of purchasing a building that it's a 6,500 square feet. So we're gonna put a DEXA scan and
oh,
other,
nice,
yeah.
nice.
So we're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
have a space. Right now we just limited on our space, so we
Are
maximize.
that's awesome. Are you guys using any other data points like Aura Ring or any of the
So
wearables?
like we have some of our clients are wearing like Whoop or whatever, like the
Right.
of their choice. So we have few or quite few clients who are on memberships and they track their data. So let's say they come for hyperbaric chamber, NAD IV, red light therapy, and they measure their sleep quality and recovery the night before and the night after, and they send us data.
Oh, that's pretty
And
cool.
it's usually like tremendous difference.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. So, okay, so going to the wellness, I know you have a very strong passion for peptides.
Yes.
What are some of your favorite peptides that you like to utilize?
Many of them, but I think we talk a little bit about few of them. So the one that I truly love, and I feel like almost everyone is a candidate, it's MOTS-C. It's MOTS/C. That's mitochondrial derived peptide, and it's composed of 16 amino acids. So it's a small peptide. So what it's gonna do, it's actually improving functions of your mitochondria. So it's producing more energy for the body. And actually, MOTS-C is activating AMPK, which is like a crucial energy sensor in a body. So very incredible to improve physical performance, endurance, good for athletes or like average people who just want to have more energy and be better at the gym.
Right.
Also, it's going to reduce your oxidative stress, so it has anti-aging properties. But the other reason I like this peptide a lot is that it's a great adjunct to GLP-1. So for people who are on a low dose of GLP-1 or trying to wean off of GLP-1, the MOTS-C, it's amazing adjunct because it's gonna increase your glucose uptake. It's gonna increase fat breakdown in the body, and also inhibits gluconeogenesis, which is like glucose storage in the liver.
Right. Right.
So yeah, increases insulin sensitivity. So very good. We have a lot of patients on it in addition to GLP-1, or like when they're ready to just, okay, I don't want to do GLP-1 anymore. We just transition them to MOTS-C.
I mean, just listen to all of those benefits. And I'm pretty sure there's even more benefits than that.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's amazing. And what other peptides?
Okay, so like talking about GLP-1, because I know this is one that has like either you love it or you hate it. And I listened to a couple of your podcasts, and I know there are talks about Ozempic face and muscle wasting, which I agree with, but there is GLP-1 microdosing, which I honestly love. So like, GLP-1 has receptors throughout the body, right? So
Right.
that's why it does all the things it does. It has receptors in the brain, so it's gonna act on a center of hunger, so it's gonna suppress the appetite. It has receptors in your intestines, so then it's gonna prolong, feeling of fullness, right? So now the receptors in the pancreas, it's gonna shoot up insulin when the blood glucose is high. So that's why it's a great for weight management or weight loss. Now the studies is coming up or coming out saying that GLP-1 is great for cholesterol because it lowers your lipids, it lowers the blood pressure, it's cardioprotective, neuroprotective. It's gonna vasodilate your vessels, so it's like relaxing the vessels, and it's gonna reduce your systemic vascular resistance. So great for cardiac. And I know that people who are not managed well on the GLP-1s, they have all kinds of side effects. They lose muscle and all the things. But when you, in a context of microdosing, it's honestly a great option for people, even like you and I, who just want to improve overall metabolic health. Because microdosing of GLP-1 is going to prevent insulin resistance. And you and I know insulin resistance, it's like a key to all kinds of chronic, illnesses, right? Obesity, diabetes type 2. So it's going to prevent the insulin resistance. Now, also, what we see in our clients on microdosing, it shuts off that emotional eating. So people have a better emotional control over food, and they make better choices. So
Right.
that's like a great success. Um, we have a group of people who report that they are not depressed anymore because GLP-1 is neuroprotective. So also it's going to reduce the inflammation in the brain. And from that anti-inflammatory standpoint, it's a very powerful anti-inflammatory agent. It's gonna downregulate your pro-inflammatory cytokines. It's gonna upregulate your anti-inflammatory cytokines. So it's great for people who deal with anything like systemic inflammation, chronic inflammation. I truly, for that reason, I really, really
Yeah,
like it.
that's amazing. And another thing too that I've noticed with our patients is women who have PCOS. It has worked
Yes. It,
phenomenal for them.
yes.
I've even seen women that have PCOS that have had issues getting pregnant, get
Mm-hmm.
pregnant, right? And you have the semi-glutide babies that come
Right.
out, right? The other thing that I've seen is alcohol. Patients
Mm-hmm.
that are consistently drinking a lot of alcohol, they don't have
Shuts.
that dependency
Right.
anymore. Um, so, our chief medical officer, Dr. Christopher Davis, who's an interventional cardiologist specializing in functional medicine, he was actually the first person that I've seen, besides now hearing you, that's been doing the microdosing of the
Mm-hmm.
GLP-1 drugs. And for the listeners who don't understand the difference, is the GLP-1 drugs are typically on a sliding scale. Every 4 weeks,
Yeah.
you're going up almost double the dose, depending, if
Which,
it's the
yeah.
semaglutide or the tirzepatide, it has a sliding scale. So this is a little bit of a different approach, which obviously, between Dr. Davis and even yourself, you guys are seeing success with it.
Yes, and it's funny because uh, our doctor, we started doing microdosing before we heard the term microdosing.
Right.
So it basically it's taking a subtherapeutic dose of the GLP-1, and I don't, I don't even know. We don't even have a one single patient on a full therapeutic dose of semaglutide or other GLP-1s. We try to incorporate, diet, activity, all other like consultations, wellness, functional medicine, just because we want to keep these people on a lower dose.
Right.
So that it's easier for them to wean off later. It causes less side effects. And we started doing microdosing because we had a lot of inflammatory issues. So chronic inflammation, rheumatoid arthritis, things like that. So we just came up with like, oh, let's try like a tiny, tiny dose. It was working. And then all of a sudden we hear, oh, there's such a thing like
Right.
microdosing. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, one of the things you said earlier also is with the GLP-1 drugs, one of the things that the industry has seen a lot of is that patients are losing weight, but it's not the appropriate weight. It's
Right.
muscle weight. And when we talk about health span and longevity, we need muscle,
We need
right?
muscle.
And this is why we're so adamant about making sure we're doing the true body composition analysis, putting
Mm-hmm.
people through the in-body DEXA scan, to be able to make sure that the weight that we're losing is the appropriate weight. Now, with the microdosing, you mentioned that that helps, where it's not so aggressive, where then the patient ends up losing a lot of muscle weight rather
Mm-hmm.
than fat, right?
Right. It's more like subtly is gonna suppress your appetite, so just people control themselves better. The other thing is too, I feel like with the GLP-1s, you truly need to dedicate the time for the consult and educating your clients, because if let's say I live on pizza and ice cream and take semaglutide and then eat less of the pizza and ice cream, it's not fixing anything. It's
Right.
just right. I'm gonna lose weight, but I'm gonna most likely lose all of my muscle weight. So the education is a key. Like you have to increase your protein intake, and you have to engage in some sort of activity that you either lift weights or do some sort of resistance training. Otherwise, it's just no point. Like if you're not
Right.
committed to do these changes, like you shouldn't be on it. Like you're not a right candidate, because it's not just a miracle that you just take a pill and lose a bunch of weight. It's not
Absolutely.
meant for that.
So let me ask you this: for your health, how important is exercising?
Um, Very important. I exercise 5 to 6 times a week. Depends on, like my, let's say, schedule, but I try to do it 5 to 6 times a week. I have a personal trainer. I don't do any cardio. I do strength training because my age, bone density, and muscles, very important, like, for hormones, for everything. So, my workouts are mainly based on it's a weightlifting resistance training. And honestly, I learned that from Mind Pump because I listened to Mind Pump. So they kind of got me on. I'm like, oh, maybe I should not do cardio so much anymore. And I switched. The best decision in my life.
Awesome.
Feel great. It's just I can eat a lot. I don't have to worry about, my metabolism is fast. Yeah, just I think
Yeah.
activity, sleep, um, and diet, like the basic three things that you gotta do.
I heard a guy on social media, a doctor, and he said that if you show him a person who smokes and drinks but exercises, that that person will potentially outlive the person who doesn't smoke and drink and doesn't exercise.
Mm-hmm. I believe that. Yeah.
That's how important exercising is. Now, what about nutrition? How important is nutrition?
Also very important. I've always ate good because when I was growing up in Poland, we didn't have any junk food. We was a communism country. There was like really nothing in the store, so we were lucky to get like fruit. And then like in '90s when Poland became a democracy and we were allowing imports, we were eating fruits and vegetables, but it was all basics. So I don't even have a taste buds like for junk stuff. So I think I follow a good diet for majority of my life. Um, I always prioritize protein. I'm having a hard time now because I have a mutation on my gene. It's called BRCA2. So that's a mutation that causes a higher risk for breast cancer in women,
Mm,
so up to 70%. So when I went to a doctor, they want me to follow more of a plant-based diet
okay.
because a lot of meats in United States are just not healthy from like hormonal, too
Right.
much right,
Right.
preservative and hormones. So I'm trying to like now find a way to get a plant-based diet, but still get enough protein in my body. So yeah.
Yeah. So obviously nutrition is very important. It's key. Now, right now, there's been a lot of talk with this movement, Make America Healthy Again,
Mm-hmm.
with RFK Jr.
Right.
And one of the things it's like, what are we putting in our bodies, right? Some of these foods that are out there are full of toxins. So What's your take on making America healthy based off of the foods that are out there with these big food companies?
I love the movement. I hope that they will truly, follow through, and a lot of these foods will be banned. And because honestly, they shouldn't be even considered foods. Like if something has 47 ingredients and you can't even pronounce it, especially I can't pronounce,
Right.
so it's not eatable. So yeah, I think we should go back to eating more, whole foods. And I know, we're living in a society that unfortunately we have to make sure that everything is convenient because people are busy and they don't have time to cook, right? When I
Right.
was growing up, my mom was cooking dinner every day. It's not a case anymore, but there are ways that, you can grab a salad, that it's, that type of food should be more accessible. When you go to the store, 70% of the store, it's all junk, right? And then
Right.
you have a small section that you can buy fruit and vegetables. It should be kind of opposite.
Yeah.
Have a small section for the people who want to just indulge in eating chips and drink Coke, and have the majority of the store with healthy food that it's accessible for everyone, so it's not pricey to the point that you can't even afford eating healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. My parents, talking about the grocery store, my parents would always tell me when you go to the grocery store, you should try to shop on the perimeter
Oh
of
yeah,
the grocery store. Because
100%.
typically
Yes.
that's where all your
Yeah.
produce and all
Yeah.
the natural stuff is at.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we're talking about the wellness stuff. Let's talk about some aesthetics, right? Because obviously you are totally into aesthetics. You take care of yourself aesthetically very well. You follow Dr. Hino Bay, who is like the guru behind medical aesthetics, functional aesthetics medicine. So there's some procedures that you do at your clinic. Obviously, you do the stuff that everyone else does, also the neurotoxins, the fillers, but you have some procedures that you're very passionate about.
Mhm.
Let's talk about them.
Yes, I love Dr. Shinobe, and I love Sculptra, and he's like the godfather of Sculptra injections. So I actually we do a lot of Sculptra in our clinic, and we follow his technique on Sculptra. So, like for those who don't know what Sculptra is, because a lot of people call it dermal filler, but technically it's a biostimulator, right? So it's a biostimulator that enhances your body ability to produce its natural collagen. And Sculptra comes in a powder form. You have to dilute it with bacteriostatic water, and once injected, it causes mild inflammation, and that the inflammation triggers fibroblasts to stimulate more collagen.
Okay.
And it doesn't have, so I think the reason that it's not very popular, it doesn't give you instant gratification and doesn't have instant results. So because it takes time for the collagen to be formed in your tissue. So technically it's like a 3 to 6 months process. So you injecting it, you look beautiful because you put a lot of fluid in your face, but then the fluid goes down, you kind of go back to your old normal, and then you're waiting that, 3 to 6 months. And it also usually takes about 2 to 3 sessions for like the most optimal results. I love it because it's all natural. And it gives you like very subtle natural results as well. It's great for improving skin tone and texture, and like to replace volume loss, but in a very subtle, natural way. Not
Right. By producing its own collagen. So when you said 2 to 3 different sessions, like how far out are the sessions
so
when you do
we are doing every 4 weeks.
every 4 weeks?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then on label for the facial rejuvenation, then off
The
label
off label. Let's talk.
off label
Yeah.
different parts of the body,
Yeah.
right?
So the off label, that's actually it's very popular here in South Florida, right?
Mm-hmm.
So which we do them at the Liquivita clinics as well too. Is we've seen a lot of celebrities, and
Mm-hmm.
I think some of the Kardashians or the Jenners or something like that. They've done it where they do the Brazilian butt lift with the
Mm-hmm.
Sculptra.
Yes.
So let's talk about that because the thing is some of these women out there are they got booties that look like they've been
Mm-hmm.
sculpture, right?
Right.
So are you familiar how to
Yes,
do this
yes,
procedure?
yes.
Okay.
So yes, we do those too. So, well, first of all, not everyone is the right candidate. Let's say if your goal is to get a very enhanced, large butt, sculpture won't do that. It's gonna firm, lift, contour, but it's a more like a subtle results, And then it takes many vials, so it can take from 4 to 10 vials. So it can be pricey, but I truly love the results, even from like the skin quality improvement, and a subtle lift and contour. We do follow. There's a clinical studies. There's a technique called firm and up, and basically, so we follow that. And depending on what your target and end goal is, we inject it in different area of the butt. So let's
Okay.
say if you want to contour, you're concentrating on the outer upper quadrant of the butt. If you want lift, it's more inner upper. So at different places on the butt, then the sculpture will go in. And then the dilution is a little bit different for the butt. We over dilute it, because we inject more superficial, like 1 to 2 centimeters down, to avoid large vessels that you have in a butt, because we obviously don't want to cause an occlusion.
What's like the main reason why women are coming in to get these injections in their butt? Do they not know how to squat?
uh, I think that uh, I don't want to just sound this is gonna sound awful, but I think that people do like quick fix. Many times it's easier to do that than go to the gym and do squats for a year,
Now,
right?
if
I
you do
mean,
that and go to the gym, does it enhance the results?
it does, definitely. And then we also like we combo sculpture with M Sculpt, because that's actually a
Okay.
great
Nice.
combination. Like if you do sculpture and then follow up, if that's in someone's budget, follow up with M Sculpt session, it really gives you nice results. But you gotta maintain it, right?
Right.
So sculpture longevity, let's say it's 2, maybe up to 5 years, so you got to maintain it. And then M Sculpt, the same thing. It's going to tone up your muscle. But then if you don't maintain it, you're just going to lose it. So
Right.
I always say, well, just follow up with the gym sessions and keep working out from that point on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Are you using any kind of other lasers? I know you mentioned M Sculpt.
Yes, so the anesthetics, so yes, we have, M Sculpt is basically a body contouring device. We have energy devices in our office, radio frequency and microneedling. We have something called Neogen, which is a plasma resurfacing. And then we have ablative laser halo and
Oh,
BBL,
nice.
which is like sophisticated IPL.
Wow. You guys really do have the full
We
shebang.
do have a lot of
Wow.
things, yeah.
And now you're going to have a bigger facility,
We have
6,000 square feet.
yes.
Wow. I'm
If
going to have to go
everything,
up there and visit.
please, yes,
Yeah.
definitely. If everything goes through, we have inspectors going through the building as we speak. So hopefully, if everything goes through, yeah,
Nice, nice.
yeah.
So, what other technologies do you expect to see in the future?
Well, I hope that hyperbaric chamber will invent red light therapy, that you can do red light therapy in hyperbaric
Oh, that would
chamber.
be interesting.
That would be a very, very good combo. From aesthetic, honestly, there's so much right now, and I think every year there's something new. A lot of the new technologies are actually following it. All technology, it's just more a nicer package. Let's put it this way. But I think AI is big, and it's gonna play significant role in like diagnostic testing. I think we're gonna see that it's gonna, I don't know, we're gonna have a screen that you just type all your symptoms and it's gonna come up.
Yeah. I've been
So
seeing stuff online, like people
yeah,
already talking
yeah,
about things like that.
yeah.
So it's interesting, but a little scary at the same time. But I'm
It is, as long
happy
as
to
it
see what
doesn't
comes up.
take away the role of provider, then I'm
Right.
fine using it, right? But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Dominika, question for you. If there's someone listening to this podcast right now that wants to take control of their health and wellness, what is one thing that you can let them know?
Well, definitely just to understand that health is your biggest asset. Health is wealth. And then you're not going to enjoy your life, you're not going to enjoy your money if you don't have your health. So take control of it, and I think you said it, become a CEO of your own health. Educate yourself, invest in alternative therapies, invest in your health. It's We have such a big access to everything, it's so easy to find information. Then yeah, I would just say don't wait till it's too late.
Absolutely. And listen, we have a lot of medical providers that are listening also, right? So for the people that want to take control of the health, I appreciate that response. But listen, you're a registered nurse. You're on the cover here of Top Doctors magazine, right? So you've done something that many other people haven't been able to accomplish. For that nurse, that other nurse that's out there trying to figure out how to make that maneuver into doing what you've done, what's one piece of advice you can give that nurse?
Just, I think, don't ever give up, just follow your dreams, everything is possible. Like you said, you don't have to be a doctor. Just look around, find a doctor who has the same passion as you do, and follow your dreams. Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
definitely the one
Dominika,
thing.
where can people find you?
So my Instagram, Dominika_Supreme Wellness. My company Instagram is Supreme_Wellness_Aesthetics. I hope that I'm saying that right. And then we are located in suburbs of Chicago, Park Ridge, and Willowbrook, Illinois.
Amazing. Which we're going to include all the links down below, anyways.
Thank
So
you.
people are going to be able to check it out. Dominika, thank you for coming on the podcast. We appreciate you sharing your story. This is very motivating for a lot of people that are listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for watching another episode of a Healthy Point of View podcast. Again, I'm your host, Sam Tejada. Make sure you subscribe, do all that other stuff, share it, click on all the links, follow Dominika, follow her page, her company page as well too. Learn about the things that are out there that are making people well, that are making people look beautiful. And then we'll see you on the next one.